I had to stand to do what I have to do. I know I lost my loved one. It passed away.
Right now, a local church is in mourning after a crash involving one of its vans killed 8 people and injured 10 others. We are continuing to get new developments tonight on this crash in rural southwest Florida.
This is what we know. The van crashed near Moorhaven as it was coming back to Fort Pierce after a convention in Fort Myers. We have live team coverage throughout the region as authorities piece together what happened.
Let's begin with News Channel 5 anchor Kelly Dunn. She's live from Independent Haitian Assembly of God Church in Fort Pierce. Kelly?
And Shannon, good evening. And just in the last 30 minutes, we have seen the outpouring of generosity and support by the Fort Pierce community. As we look around here, you'll see some people with plates of food. Within the last 30 minutes, another church here in Fort Pierce came over and delivered hot meals, pasta, we understand, some vegetables, to anyone and everyone who is out here today, whether they are a member of this church or not. They wanted to come and show their support and that they're grieving alongside of them for the 8 parishioners who died in that crash early this morning. I want to talk about the survivors. There were 10 people injured in this crash, and at last check, at least 4 have still been in the hospital. One of the ones released already was a 4-year-old girl who was in that van. Nazir Nori came to the church still wearing a hospital gown this morning. He's one of the 10 survivors. His niece translated for us what Nori said happened as that church van approached the intersection of US 27 west of Moorhaven.
The brakes went out at that time once they got to the curb, and that's when the car proceeded into the ditch.
When the crash happened, Nore said he ended up pressed up against the double doors of the van. He said that other victims ended up literally on top of them. They were screaming for help. Officials arrived on the scene shortly after that. He said he was frankly just grateful to be able to tell his story, which of course, as we know now, 8 people will never be able to tell their story. Their lives were lost in that crash. I want to go out to my colleague Michael Williams. He is live in Fort Myers. He's been talking to some of the victims' families today. Michael?
Kelly, good evening from Lee Memorial Hospital, where 4 victims are still recovering at this hour. Their loved ones coming from Fort Pierce here to be at their sides. A men's group from that church had come here to spread song and fellowship, and now their voices are filled with grief. Those of the loved ones who come here to be at their sides. Noelle Nomis is one of those wives who's here to be next to her husband to give him some solace. Macaulay Jean-Jacques, one of those injured, she invited me, allowed me to come up to her hospital room this evening, about an hour and a half ago, and this is in part what she had to say.
I say, I'm telling God, thank you. My husband's still alive.
The sobering picture of a wife standing at her husband's bedside. Again, they allowed me a few moments with them. She can't even afford to stay here. She has to go home because she can't afford to be here overnight and come back and forth from Fort Pierce to here to be attending her husband's needs, hopeful he'll recover, believing that he will after this horrific and for so many a deadly crash. And I also got to talk to 2 sons. Their dad, Servilis, 71 years old, died. And they were filled with love and admiration for a dad who'd worked in St. Lucie County for years, raised 6 kids. And as I talked to the Delamine brothers, they talked about that love, and they tried, they said, to remember how their dad would want them to act. And so they spoke not cheerfully, but they said not mournfully either, remembering, they said, how their dad would want them to act. What was the last time you got to see your dad?
For my spring break, I came home from college for my spring break, and I spent the last time, like my last day with them, we spent playing cars. He loved playing cars.
Yes.
So we stayed playing cars for the whole day.
We were always playing cards together. So my dad always playing cards after work. He came home. That's what he do. But now I'm not gonna play cards with him no more. But God knows everything. It's good.
You know he's in heaven with God.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Servilis Diodon, 71 years old, a hardworking man, a quiet man, his son said with a big laugh. Now they only have the memories of him, but say they will honor him as best they can through their grief, through their tears, and through the joyful memories they say they will share. We'll continue to monitor the situation from here. Now we go to News Channel 5's Jason Hackett in Fort Pierce with more on the victims' stories. Jason?
Michael, 7 families and an entire church family are experiencing the excruciating pain of loss tonight. We got to go out to the community and speak to several families who lost a loved one. We spoke to the families of Aubernice and Jean and Jude Petit Frere, Lafayette Lockard, Madeline William, and Servilis Diodon. With each stop we made, the grief was evident. What we found in each case was that each victim had a similar story. They were all immigrants that came over to the United States to make a better life for themselves. Now their families are left to deal with the reality of the situation. Here's what they all had to say.
I didn't get a chance to see him, even to say hello. I just want to see him.
I just feeling a little weak, being quiet all day. I just don't know what to say.
These people were great, man. They were great. And I believe the community has lost a very, very good people in that community. I'm gonna miss them for the rest of my life.
My mother was a political refugee in the early 80s. She came to the United States in search of the American dream. She made sure that we all finished school and that we were upstanding, good Americans.
So obviously a lot of healing left to be done in the community and for those families you saw there. If you want a full list of those victims from last night's accident, you can visit our website, WPTV.com. Kelly, back to you.
Jason, thank you. And the healing is starting to take place little by little here. Actually, just moments ago, we were hearing some hymns that were being sung inside the church. We understand some of the family members of those on board that van that crashed are inside right now, and you're starting to hear hymns being sung inside. Right now, as far as the cause of this, was it human error, driver error? Was it possibly a mechanical failure of some sort? That's what investigators are looking at. What we've been told right now is that it was driver error at this point preliminarily in the investigation. We understand the driver went through a stop sign over 4 lanes of traffic. We're going to show you Chopper 5 video now. This after the 15-passenger van, again carrying 18 people at the time, plunged over a 10-foot embankment and into a shallow canal. There is a dirt patch where that van went through some bushes. They're still trying to determine if indeed that driver just ran right through that stop sign, possibly didn't see the stop sign. It was 12:30 in the morning, pitch black out in that part of rural Glades County. We've also been doing some digging into the driver of the church van. We understand that his name is Volsant Marcellet. He has a valid driver's license. We understand just minor traffic infractions, as we understand it at this point. His latest was for speeding, and that was in March of 2010. But the investigation and indeed the answers on exactly what caused this crash and this tragedy are still to come. That's it live right now in Fort Pierce. Shannon, send it back to you.